I know what you're thinking. What could possibly be exciting about this 2018 GMC Acadia Denali? Well, I'll tell you, nothing. There's nothing exciting about it. Okay, all joking aside, it is still nothing overly exciting. I mean, it's a mid-sized 3-row crossover SUV, and it doesn't really offer anything that any other vehicle out there doesn't do already, but it does have that GMC branding as well as Denali. So it's one of the reasons why this continues to be a popular seller. Now, we talked about this the other week when we did the 2018 GMC Terrain Denali. This used to be a full-size crossover. It's shrunk down a little bit to take what the Terrain was doing in terms of a mid-size, and now is a smaller vehicle. It's still 3 rows, but it does feel bigger, obviously, than the Terrain, and it does have some slightly different styling cues, but I have to say that it really is just a bigger version of the Terrain. And I mean, that's not a problem. You take a look at any of the luxury marques out there, Mercedes, BMW, Audi, making the same vehicle just slightly bigger for each market. So there's nothing wrong with that. Now, there are 2 features with this car that the Terrain Denali did not have, 2 things that we were asking for. You do have automatic high beams, which is a nice plus, and you do have active cruise control, which is again a nice plus. There are some things that you still don't get though, which you would have to go up to something like the Cadillac XT5 for. There's no automatic rain sensing wipers. Big whoop, most people don't really care, but it is important to note that on a lot of consumer grade vehicles, you can get that. Also, much like the Terrain, you still have halogen fog lights at the bottom. Couldn't tell you why. I think it looks nicer if they're all LED, but then again, GMC is probably thinking that the yellower bulbs with halogens actually do a better job cutting through fog to begin with. So who knows, just something to note. You're still not getting power folding mirrors on this vehicle, but you do have access to all doors with the keyless entry. And much like the Terrain, there is a off-road package which adds the roof rails on top and the running boards to help you get up onto the roof. Now let's take a look around back and see what's going on here. Which, if you were expecting to be surprised back here, I have bad news for you. It actually looks a lot more like the outgoing versions of GM's crossover vehicles, but again, there's nothing wrong with it. There's no Denali badging along the back, so if you are buying this vehicle for that badge, again, it is sort of hidden along the doors. Not something I'm a huge fan of, but it seems that GM's going that way with their GMC Denali line anyway. Now the trunk is power opening. You would expect that at this price point. You have a 360-degree camera system, again, something that you would expect at this price point. And overall, if you're using this as a 2-row vehicle, you do have a lot of space back here. You can put the 3rd row up if you want to, and there, again, isn't anything back here to really surprise. If you are sitting in the back seats, you do have a USB outlet to be able to charge your device, and then there is a regular car outlet in the back to be able to plug in something if you have a device that needs to be charged up and you're using the back. But I feel that storage is pretty good in the trunk, and it works pretty well. And if you're like us, you're a family of 3, a vehicle like this actually makes sense. If you can afford to drive something like this on a daily basis, then you could get something and use it as a 4-person vehicle. That's what we're doing right now. We have the captain's chairs in the middle. But because we have family that comes in from out of town, it is nice to have that 3rd row so that everybody can jump into the same vehicle. Now let's jump into the inside and talk about the rest of the vehicle. But if you've already seen our GMC Terrain video, it's more of the same. More of the same, yes, but I hope I'm not giving the impression that there's something wrong with this vehicle, at least not anything overly wrong with it. I mean, I guess the only thing is this wood trim. It certainly looks like plastic, and I'm not a big fan of the tint of it, especially with the black in the interior. But aside from that, this really is a very straightforward interior. We really have seen this on GMC's other 2018 models. Again, nothing too surprise. You have automatic window for the driver. The rest of the windows are power, but they're not automatic. You have dual sunroofs up top, similar to the Buick Enclave. And then GM's navigation system, it works pretty well. Android Auto and Apple CarPlay work. You have front heated seats, front ventilated seats, heated steering wheel, and all the controls make sense. Again, there's nothing overly surprising. It works well. And I'd say that space is good. This is one of the very few vehicles I've ever driven since doing test drive where I don't have to put the seat all the way to the bottom. In fact, I've actually put the seat up a little bit so I have a little bit better visibility. So if you are a taller person, we do get that question quite a bit. If you're over 6 feet, I'm 6 foot. So if you're taller than me, this actually has a lot of space. I mean, I'm at the lowest right now. I've got a few more inches up here at the top, but you could certainly configure the seat a little bit further back if you needed it to. So I think for large people, both physically and height-wise, then you certainly have more room up here than you might expect. Now, seat space is comfortable. Like I said, room is good, but the seats are comfortable enough. They're not massaging or anything like that, but they do get the job done. Headrests are a little firm, but we've noticed that with other vehicles from GM recently. Now, the rear seat space, as I mentioned outside, they are configured as captain's chairs. So you have 2 seats in the center and then the third row in the back. Again, it could be ideal if you have a family of 3 or 4, but you still want to have that extra row in case you have friends or family over and you only want to take one vehicle. There's a third zone climate control system for the backseat passengers with outboard heated seats for those captain's chairs. And you do have vents built into the roof liner, so you do have a little bit more airflow, but we've again seen that on other vehicles from GM in this segment. Now, I'm sure you want to see this on the road, and as do I. I was excited to see what the real differences were for this vehicle on the road compared to something like the Terrain Denali. So we're going to take it on its road test and talk about everything that we found with our week with the 2018 Acadia Denali. Now, the whole point of buying a vehicle like this is to haul your family, which is clearly what we're doing here today, but it's also to be able to have that flexibility to be able to put more people in the back. And that's one of the reasons why I do like having a 3-row SUV, because you do have that space if you need it. It's a 6-row configuration for this one with the 2 captain's chairs in the center and then 2 more in the trunk. But one of the things that I'll let you know right now is nobody is going to be spending $63,000 on this car. It is way too much for what you get. The base model GMC Acadia Denali starts at $52,000 Canadian, and there's $11,000 worth of options on this vehicle. A lot of them you don't need. The $3,000 rims you don't need. Even the $1,600 for the variable continuous suspension setup here. Personally, I don't see a difference with it in comparison to other vehicles in the segment, so something like that you don't need. I think really the only package you need on this is the technology package to get some of the goodies that really should be standard on the Denali to begin with. But let's talk about how this vehicle is on the road. First of all, I have no complaints about the engine performance. We have, used this engine now in pretty much everything that GM offers. They really do like their LGX engine, and it works pretty well. No issues that we've had with it. The transmission works, as well as you can expect one to. We don't use the manual shift mode here because you have to put it into lower gear, and you use the buttons on the top of the shifter in order to change gears. I don't use that at all because we're not towing anything, but the option for it is there. Now, the all-wheel drive system here is similar to what they offer on the Cadillac XT5, but it's not the same system. You actually have to go down to, I think it's the second trim for this, and get the all-terrain package in order to get that same twin-clutch rear differential setup that allows you to have power to one rear wheel 100% of the time if you have a low traction situation. This uses their regular 4x4 setup. You can disengage the all-wheel drive, so we've been driving this completely in front-wheel drive mode because the weather's been pretty nice here. It's the middle of summer, so there's no point to really be using all-wheel drive, and it has helped a little bit. Fuel economy is currently at 11.1 liters, which is not great. We did much better with the Cadillac XT5, but again, we're driving this more in the city. This has been more of a city commuter for us over the last week than it is a long-distance one. But overall, ride is pretty smooth. I have no complaints about it. Everybody here is pretty bored as we're doing this video, and it's because the vehicle is just, there's nothing exciting about it. There's nothing wrong with that either. GMC is making great vehicles here, and they sell like crazy. There's no doubt about it. There's just nothing exciting about it, and there's no point in sugarcoating it and trying to make it sound like it's more exciting than it actually is. It gets the job done, and it does a good job doing it. And it's a good option if you really do like GM vehicles. You can certainly get the Chevrolet Traverse if you want to. But you got to admit there is something about that GMC badge, and especially that Denali badge, despite it being hidden along the side of the doors, just like the Terrain, it does mean something, at least to people who care. So the GMC Acadia Denali isn't as exciting as we expected, and overall we preferred the look, ride, and options available on the Buick Enclave Avenir, considering both as tested cost around the same price. But that's the problem. GM loaded this press car up with a lot of options most consumers aren't going to be opting for. $495 just for the blue steel metallic paint, $440 for the interior protection package, which adds all-weather floor mats, $150 for the engine block heater, $1,685 for the dual 2-pane sunroof setup, $1,225 for the exterior convenience package, which adds those roof rack cross rails and side assist steps, $1,395 for the chassis continuously variable real-time damping, and $3,225 for those 20-inch ultra-bright machined faced rims. And finally, the only package we actually recommended for $1,795 was the technology package, which added the 360-degree camera system, adaptive cruise control, and forward automatic braking, which really should be standard anyway on this trim. So let's talk dislikes and likes. The Acadia Denali does have a good look to it, uniquely American, but still with an aura of premium to it. GM's Infotainment is good, with continued support for Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, along with their own built-in navigation system. The second row captain's chairs provided comfortable seating and plenty of adjustment, including lots of legroom if you use this as a 4-passenger vehicle. Fuel economy also got better after filming our driving segment, with an overall efficiency of 10.6 liters per 100 kilometers total, including our almost all highway drive back to Montreal at 120 kilometers, with an average of 8.3 liters per 100 kilometers. And the dual sunroof system is a nice plus for those who like a bit of extra flexibility for roof lighting, allowing each sunroof to work independently from the other over a more traditional panoramic sunroof. But we weren't left with a lasting impression with the Acadia Denali. It was a nice vehicle to drive, but nothing special. The price is its biggest issue for us. Even stripping away the unneeded packaging, it's still priced higher than something like the Mazda CX-9 Signature, which has more features and a better design over the GMC. The lack of small features, like rain-sensing wipers or LED fog lights, is also a miss for us, not to mention no adaptive front headlights that still rely on HIDs over LED. And finally, the interior wood trim felt like plastic and didn't blend in very well with the dark color of the leather seating. So at the end of the day, if you need a 3-row crossover and you want to keep it American, go with the Buick Enclave. Thanks for watching this episode of Test Drive Spotlight on the 2018 GMC Acadia Denali. Were we fair in our assessment of this vehicle? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We publish new episodes of Test Drive every week, so click that notification icon and never miss out. Until next time, take care.